President Joe Biden has recently made commitments to both Israel and Ukraine, pledging financial support for their respective military.
To put all that at risk, if we walk away from Ukraine, if we turn our backs on Israel, it's just not worth it. That's why tomorrow I'm going to send to Congress an urgent budget request to fund America's national security needs, to support our critical partners, including Israel and Ukraine.
Now, Israel has requested an initial $10 billion, while Ukraine is seeking additional funds anticipated to surpass $24 billion. Now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has confirmed that the U.S. has the financial capacity to support both nations. To provide some context, though, if Ukraine receives an additional $24 billion, their total aid from the U.S. would amount to roughly $130 billion. Now, in comparison, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, which supports 40 million Americans, costs $110 billion annually. This means that Ukraine alone will receive more than the entire annual budget for SNAP. And one could argue that the U.S. could significantly increase SNAP's benefits with such funds, but it's evident that the government has other priorities. Now, currently, politicians are drafting an aid package that will allocate more funds to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. And it's worth noting that the U.S. already provides Israel with billions annually as part of their regular budget. Now, the challenge now is whether the bundle of aid for all countries into one legislative piece or to separate them. Congressman Bacon advocates for the latter. However, there's a hiccup. As of October 18th, the House of Representatives lacks a speaker, rendering them unable to pass any bill. Now, this means no additional funds for any country or even the U.S. federal government. Now, if a speaker isn't elected soon, the U.S. government could run out of funds by November 17th. Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio is currently eyeing the position for speaker. However, he's struggling to secure the necessary votes. Now, without the support of the Democrats, Jordan can only afford to lose 4 Republican votes. And unfortunately, in recent votes, he lost significantly more than that. Now, this is creating a lot of uncertainty about our current economic situation, which can have an effect on consumer confidence, foreign relations, trade relations, and even cause further inflationary pressure. Now, basically, the entire globe economy is facing a lot of uncertainty right now, and the lack of a House Speaker is adding more fuel to this fire. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is eager to send additional aid to Israel, but is hamstrung without the functioning House. Despite his proactive efforts in drafting new legislation in the Senate, he ultimately needs the House's cooperation. Now, diving a little deeper into the aid details, President Biden initially proposed an extra $24 billion for Ukraine, citing their dwindling ammunition supplies. However, due to the House's current paralysis, this proposal is on hold. Once operational, Biden is expected to increase this request. To date, Ukraine has received around $100 billion from the U.S., channeling through various departments. Now, it's essential to understand that this is not all of the aid that's going out for military purposes. Billions have been allocated for food programs, infrastructure, and even supporting Ukraine's government. Many Americans supporting aiding Ukraine, emphasizing the importance of rebuilding their cities and supporting their citizens. However, with pressing issues at home such as struggling veterans, rising crime, and minimal Social Security adjustments, one must question where the priorities lie. Turning our attention to Israel, they've consistently been a top aid recipient of U.S. taxpayer dollars, receiving approximately $3 billion annually, and now they're requesting an additional $10 billion, which, given historical trends, is likely just the beginning. Now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's recent statement that the U.S. can fund both wars was surprising. With a national debt of $33 trillion and unfunded liabilities, the fiscal situation is dire. The federal government's primary income source, taxes, have decreased this year, while spending is on the rise. This disparity means that the government must borrow more, furthering deepening the debt. So while the U.S. government pledges support for other nations, it's crucial to remember the pressing need at home. The current fiscal situation is alarming, and without careful management, it could worsen. As we await further developments, one thing is clear: priorities need to be reassessed. And when we finally have those priorities in place, we need to start executing on them.